Dr. Peter Glidden here with you. Tuesday, May 27th, 2014. Hope you had a memorable Memorial Day weekend, I certainly did. Had some very interesting things happen to me this weekend, which I'm going to be talking about here in just a few seconds while we are waiting for our very special guest to arrive. So, was at a wedding this weekend. It was a fantastic event. Thank you very much. We had a very nice time. Not my wedding. That's coming up. But it was a wedding of a relative, and lots of people there, festivities and music and dancing, and it was a good time all around. It's really nice to celebrate moments in life. I don't think we get enough of that in our busy day-to-day lives, unless, of course, you're a longevity distributor. And then your day-to-day work becomes, in fact, somewhat of a celebration, because what are you doing as you're building your longevity business? You are celebrating life. You are helping people to optimize the structure and function of their physical body while you are helping them to optimize their finances as well. And that's like the 1-2 punch. That's like the secret sauce. That's like the never-fail fudge. It just is a good idea. There's nothing wrong with this whatsoever. And as people are often amazed to see, the longevity business is much simpler and much easier to make into a success than you would otherwise think. In any event, we're celebrating this weekend, and between songs, I was outside cooling off, and a friend of the family's came up, and there were 3 or 4 of us speaking around a table. This guy was an academician. I believe he was a retired college chemistry professor or something like that. And he just told me that he had bypass surgery, right? Bypass surgery. Now, he didn't know anything about what naturopathy was, didn't even know that the profession existed. And before he walked up to the table, I was talking to the other people who were there about what it was that I did. You know, I didn't start the conversation, they did, and they were really fascinated by the whole concept of holistic medicine, and they were, halfway on board with it. At least they had open minds to it. But then this guy came over, and after he listened to me explain what my profession was about and what it was that I did for a living, he looked at me and he said, I just don't buy it. I said, well, I don't know what it is that you think I'm selling. I'm not selling anything. I'm just telling you what my profession is and what we do, and that there is, in fact, a profession, a fully licensed and regulated medical profession in the United States that delivers alternatives to drugs and surgery. And he said, well, if that were the case, then why aren't you, he said, if your therapeutics were as good as you're saying that they are, why aren't you teaching at Rush? Why aren't you on board with, which is a big hospital in Chicago? Why aren't you, giving lectures at the nutrition center in the hospital that I just had my surgery at? And I kind of looked at him with my jaw open, and it was an aha moment for me. Because we've been so far out in front of the curve here for so long. We have been so far out in front of the curve that I get used to talking to people who are open-minded. The people that call into this show are open-minded. I don't think I've gotten one heckler call in 2.5 years of doing the radio show. I don't think I've gotten one heckle call. People call up here because they're already frustrated with conventional medicine, and they're smart enough to understand that I represent a profession that's licensed and regulated, right? And the medical school that I went to is a fully accredited medical school that passed muster from the same academic accreditation board that Harvard University did. And this is a good thing. But this was really kind of a mind twister for me. It was almost as if I'd entered into a time machine and I was transported, back into the dark ages, because he just couldn't accept the notion that there did in fact exist alternatives to drugs and surgery that were developed and delivered by licensed and regulated physicians. And he just couldn't accept the fact that there were other people other than MDs who could legitimately, accurately, and professionally refer to themselves as doctors. I think it kind of twisted his mind up into a little bunch. And, you know, rather than just think about it and ponder it and sit with it, his immediate knee-jerk reaction was, no, I just don't buy it. I can't buy it. I can't believe this. I don't buy this. Which is, you know, a passive-aggressive way of saying, look, you're just a quack. It would have actually been better had he come out and said, you're just a quack, because at least that would have been, you know, the manly thing to do. But people never do that, because most people who are closed-minded are cowards. They're cowards, and they're working their way through life based out of fear, right?
Have your guests connected?
Yeah, thank you very much. Working their way through life out of fear. And this is the thing. I understood. It stood out to me in bold face all of a sudden that there still do exist in the world numbers, hordes, crores, millions of people who are completely in the dark about what we do. Right? And it's like that time when my colleagues were trying to get naturopathic medicine licensed in the South, and I honestly can't remember which state it was. It was Louisiana, maybe Georgia, maybe South Carolina, maybe Kentucky, I can't remember. You know, the bill was on the governor's desk, and the representatives went in there to talk to the governor about what we were doing, and the governor looked down at the desk, and he saw, you know, the naturopathic bill, and he said, naturopaths, we don't need hiking trails, we need jobs. You know, and this was 25 years ago, when arguably you could say, well, you know, that's understandable because it's a brand new profession in the political sphere. I mean, this profession's older than the hills and twice as dusty. But from the political perspective, it's a brand new. We're the new kid on the block, and I can understand 20 years ago how people would not even have heard about it. But at this day and age, for people to have not even heard about it, I mean, that's a great big mind twister for me. And so for a singular moment in time, my head was spinning counterclockwise on its cerebrospinal axis, and I really had to pause and take a breath and just remember that, you know, when you don't take things personally, life gets a whole lot easier. Because regardless of what this gentleman believes, or regardless of what anybody else believes, the truth will out. I mean, even if you don't know anything about mathematics, 2 + 2 is still 4, because that's just the way it is. Back in caveman days, before they knew anything about quantum physics, when you separate atoms with enough force, you get a nuclear explosion, right? There are things in nature which are just so. There are things that are in step with the truth of the things. And, you know, once you've experienced the truth, you're in its velvet grasp forever. And I feel very fortunate to be a member of Youngevity Nation, to be able to stand up in front of Youngevity Nation and talk about the things that we talk about here all of the time, because Youngevity Nation is populated with people who are of the same mindset. And this is a very interesting sociological phenomenon, because people in Youngevity Nation represent every single race, every single creed, every single color, every single political persuasion on the planet. You know, it reminded me, a couple of weeks ago I was watching that movie Armageddon with Bruce Willis, right, when they had to fly to took the space shuttle up to the asteroid to try to blow it in half before it slammed into the Earth and killed everybody. Well, for that moment in time, everybody on the planet was united in a common goal. And age, race, creed, color, nationality, political persuasion meant nothing. And that's what Youngevity Nation is like all of the time. It's a profound experience to work and walk inside of Youngevity Nation, to deal with people On a professional level, and also, it gets personal because this is a personal business. We're not just businessmen and women selling things, and that's all that there is. It's not like that. There's a personal aspect to this. There's also a business professional aspect to it, and both of those are built on the foundation of a common understanding. And what's the common understanding? Number one, your MD does not know what's best for you. Your MD only knows what they've been trained in, and what they've been trained in is a very small piece of the pie of medical science. Number two, the human body has a God-given ability to fix itself. The human body is endowed with a spiritual intelligence which takes care of business. And it is our job inside of Youngevity Nation to learn the simple steps necessary to be taken to support and promote the body's natural God-given ability to fix itself, and then to tell as many people in our lives as we can about it, because why on earth would you keep that a secret? Why would you choose to be a secret agent when you know what you can do to help your brother, your sister, your pastor, your husband, your wife sleep through the night and be in less pain? Support and promote the structure and function of their bones, their joints, their sugar metabolism. Why would you not spread that word? Well, guess what? There are thousands of people in Youngevity Nation that feel exactly the same way that you do about that. And when you become a Youngevity associate, when you become a Youngevity member, all of a sudden you start to hang out with those people. And it makes a great deal of difference. It's one of the perks of Youngevity Nation that is really unquantifiable, but it wraps the whole thing up into almost a perfect package. What are you waiting for, folks? Join Youngevity Nation now. drglidden.com. Stick around an hour or two. A very special guest coming up. Don't even think about touching that dial. Welcome back, everybody. Dr. Peter Glidden here, your steadfast advocate for health. Thanking you for tuning in today and every day from 3 to 5 Central Time for a healthy dose of reality. If you're a caller, you're going to have to put your call on hold. You can just remain on the line for the rest of the first hour. I have the great privilege of talking to a very special guest that we have here. And this is one of the good things about being, another of the good things from my point of view, about being a member of Youngevity Nation, is every once in a while you bump into somebody on a professional level who shares your same ideology. And, that beats a poke in the eye with a sharp stick. So if everybody could please join me in giving a great big Dr. Glidden welcome to the one and the only pharmacist, Ben Fuchs. Pharmacist Ben, welcome aboard.
Dr. Glidden, I couldn't have said it better. You and I are 2 peas in a pod. I don't think I've ever heard you say one thing that I couldn't have said myself, and that's saying something. That's an honor, Dr. Glidden. Thank you.
Well, it's true, right? I mean, the world's a funny place, and it reminds me, quite frankly, I'm reminded of the Harry Potter books, right, where there's basically 2 groups of people in the world. Now, I know it's all fiction, but it's a good metaphor.
It's a very good metaphor.
There are the muggles, the people that just have no magic in their life whatsoever, and then there's the people that do. And it seems that the people that are drawn to Youngevity at least have open minds and some type of intellectual strength, and it's a great privilege to talk to you. So tell people your story. Tell Youngevity Nation your story, Pharmacist Ben, because I'm not sure very many people know it. Because, let's be honest, right? Let's put our cards right on the table. You would think that the last person in the world who would be attracted to holistic medicine would be a pharmacist. Well, what's up with that?
Well, let me tell you something. When I first heard Dead Doctors Don't Lie, I'll tell you the story how I heard it back in the late 90s, I was blown away because Dr. Wallach was saying things that only pharmacists knew. he was saying things about liquid nutrition and about colloidal minerals and about the basis for disease being nutritional deficiency and chondroitin and glucosamine and using cartilage. And these were fundamental ideas that we learned in pharmacy school that I had never heard anybody but a pharmacist talk about. I hadn't even really heard a lot of pharmacists talking about it, but these were ideas that we learned in pharmacy school. And when I heard Dr. Wallach talk about this, my ears, my bionic ears poked right up, and I got really into listening to what Dr. Wallach was doing. Now, I should preface all this by saying that in pharmacy school, believe it or not, Doc, a lot of folks don't realize this, but in pharmacy school, we actually do study nutrition, except we study vitamins and minerals and the mighty 90 essential nutrients as if they were as if they were medicine. In other words, we study the medicinal properties of vitamins, the medicinal properties of minerals. In addition to that, we study deficiency diseases like arthritis, or I should say degenerative diseases like arthritis and osteoporosis and autoimmunity. We study these kinds of pathologies as if they were nutritional deficiencies. So we, on the one hand, study nutrients as if they were medicines, and on the other hand, we are trained in the idea that there are, at the core of all degenerative diseases, some kind of nutritional deficiency. And when I graduated pharmacy school, I was blown away by the fact that none of these ideas were being promoted at Kmart or Walgreens or Walmart or the various pharmacies that I was working at. In fact, there's a disincentive to promoting those kinds of ideas because of the profit margin that's in prescription drugs. Now, I should also tell you that when I was in pharmacy school, I was trained in skincare, and I never really worked in a pharmacy. Well, like in naturopathy, I'm sure you had internship hours, right?
Yeah.
You guys probably had right? So we had internship hours in pharmacy school. And I never worked in a drugstore on my internship hours because I was working in the Blistex lab. It turns out that at the University of Colorado, I don't know if I ever told you this story, Doc, but the University of Colorado, in the basement of the pharmacy school, which is now the chemistry building, the Blistex research facility was located where all the Blistex products were developed, and that's because Dr. Tony Jones, the guy who invented Blistex, was actually a professor, a retired professor by the time I was in school at the School of Pharmacy. He was a professor, a medicinal chemistry professor, as well as a pharmacognosy professor. We studied herbs, and he also did some pharmaceutics, etc. But by the time I went to pharmacy school, he was simply in the lab. And one day I was walking through the basement, my freshman year, walking through the basement of the School of Pharmacy. I stumbled into his lab. I went in there. I started talking to him. I didn't really know who he was. He asked me to be his research assistant for the next 4 years. I was in the Blistex lab getting all my internship hours, and I never really knew what the drugstore world was like. I never knew what the pharmacy world was like from a real-world perspective. I knew what it was from an academic perspective. When I went out to work in the drugstores, I was absolutely floored by the toxic poisons that were being dispensed as medicine.
Hold on to that thought, Pharmacist Ben. Hold on to that thought, Pharmacist Ben. It's a tough heartbreak coming up. Ladies and gentlemen, we're hearing it straight from the horse's mouth. Be very excited. Stick around. Much more to come with Pharmacist Ben when we come back. Welcome back, everybody. Dr. Peter Glidden here, your steadfast advocate for health. Welcoming you back. And if you like my show, you're going to love Pharmacist Ben's show. It airs Monday to Friday, 10 to 11 a.m. Central Time, 10 to 11 a.m. Central Time. That's 8 to 9 a.m. Pacific Time, 9 to 10 a.m. Mountain Time, and 11 to noon East Coast Time, right here on the Genesis Communication Network. It is called The Bright Side with Pharmacist Ben Fuchs. Check it out, Monday to Friday, 10 to 11 Central Time. So welcome back, Pharmacist Ben. So here's the deal, right? So you go through pharmacy school, you get your degree as a pharmacist, and you're a little naive about the real world and about the overarching relationship between money and big pharma and the way that medicine's introduced to people in this country. And so what happened to you when you figured all of this out?
A year or so, and I couldn't look at myself in the mirror. I was poisoning America, especially old people and children, and it was horrifying. So I started to talk to people about probiotics. That was the first thing I started to talk to people about. And then essential fatty acids and vitamin A, things that we learned in pharmacy school, things that I was always into working out and exercising and somewhat into nutrition, so things that I knew. And Kmart didn't like that, and they ended up firing me. And I ended up being an unemployed pharmacist. So what I did Those were the glory days of pharmacy. So it wasn't hard to find a job. So I started myself a little business exploiting the understandings that I learned from Dr. Jones and skincare. I started a compounding pharmacy, and I started to develop skincare products that featured nutritional skincare products. And then I started dispensing and utilizing and studying nutrition for the skin. And so I developed an expertise, and I developed a pretty healthy little business of my own. It was just myself and a partner at the time, dispensing skincare products, formulating skincare products, and using nutritional supplements to support the skin, and using nutritional ingredients in the skincare products. As these products started to work, and as these concepts started to work, I actually had the opportunity in my pharmacy to do clinicals. In essence, I would give people vitamin E and see what happened to their skin. I give people essential fatty acids and kind of watch the results. And so I developed this kind of personal, hands-on understanding of the power of nutrition for helping the skin. But then what I found was not only were skincare issues resolving themselves, dry skin was disappearing, eczema was disappearing, psoriasis that people had their whole lives was going away, acne was disappearing. But on top of all of that, people were losing weight. They weren't eating as much. You sound familiar, right? They weren't eating as much. And this is the mid-'90s that I'm seeing this stuff. So I decided I'm going to go out and talk to people about this, and I started doing talks in the Denver area, and in my lab, in my pharmacy, and in the Denver area, I started doing talks. And then I started getting these tapes in the mail. This is about 1997 now. I started getting these tapes in the mail, right? Dead Doctors Don't Lie. And I got probably a tape every 3 days, and I didn't really think too much of it. I just stuck it in the drawer. And one day I decided, I don't know why, but I decided I'm going to listen to this tape. And I put the tape in, and I am just absolutely floored, just jaw-dropping, because this guy is right on. Yeah. Of course, I'm talking about Dr. Wallach. And everything he was saying was right on. He was saying things I knew about from pharmacy school. He was saying things I knew about, I learned about, I was experiencing the last 4 or 5 years. So I just started listening to this guy's tape over and over and over again. And I almost like when I was doing my talks, I was sounding like Dr. Wallach. And one day I'm in the gym, and I'm talking to a friend of mine. I say, yeah, I'm listening to this tape, great tape, Dead Doctors Don't Lie. I said, oh, I know Dr. Wallach. This was 1997, right? Longevity was American Longevity. It was, I don't know, it's probably 2,000 people in the whole operation. And he's like, I know Dr. Wallach. He comes here all the time. I'm like, are you kidding me? Can I meet him? I want to see the guy. And so, did I ever tell you this story, Peter? I don't know.
No, never.
And I said, yeah, can I meet him? He said, sure. Next time he comes in. So sure enough, a couple of months later, I'm standing in my pharmacy. Eric looked through the window, my clear glass windows that I had, and there is Robert Snook walking with Dr. Wallach. I didn't know that was Dr. Wallach. I'd never seen a picture of him, but it was Dr. Wallach. He came in. We hit it off, and because I'd been listening to his tape, he probably thought he was talking to his doppelganger, his alter ego. Because I was repeating back the stories. I was telling about selenium and talking about nutritional deficiencies at the core of everything. And next thing I know, he's asking me to do his radio show. And so for almost 10 years probably, I did his radio show. I traveled around, talked about longevity, and I promoted the company. And let me tell you something, Dr. Glenn. What you said earlier, when you opened the program, was so spot on about how longevity people are open-minded people. They're salt-of-the-earth people. I call them hippies. And I mean hippies, not Grateful Dead, taking drugs, driving around in minivan hippies. I mean hippies who are skeptical about the party line, who are cynical about what they're being told and want evidence. They want things to be proven to themselves. They don't just listen to people because people are authorities. There tend to be a little bit on the skeptical side. And they also have another thing in common, what I noticed, Dr. Glenn. This is since 1997. I've been seeing the same kinds of personality characteristics in people who are in longevity. In addition to not buying into the party line, the Fox News kind of mindset that the masses of people have, they're also very good people. They're very kind people. They're very helpful people, and they really want to make a difference. They're really motivated to make a difference. And this has been a theme, and I believe this is why longevity is so successful, is because throughout the 17 years that I've been with the company, it has attracted a type of personality that wants to make a difference in the world. You know what I'm saying, Peter?
I do.
That's the one thing, wouldn't you say that's the one thing that everybody from the grassroots all the way up to the big shots have in common, is they want to make the world a better place. And yes, you're going to make money, but you know what? The money doesn't even come close to what you'll the kind of joy that you get when you see somebody off of their medicine that the doctor said they're going to be on the rest of their life, when you see them lose 150 pounds, when you see them get out of wheelchairs, Peter. How many people have you and I seen get out of wheelchairs?
Too many to count.
Too many to count, right? It's like John of God. It's like like those old those tent shows they used to do. Except this is real, because at the end of the day, Peter, we're not sick. We're starving. We're missing the raw material. If you don't have gas, and this is a bit simplistic because the body's more complicated than a car, and vitamins and nutrients, the mighty 90 essential nutrients, are more complicated than gasoline, but that's basically the concept. You're not going to run your car without gas, right?
Yeah, I know. And you would think, right, that this would be such a common sense thing for people to understand.
For the life of me, Dr. Glenn, I cannot figure out why it is a hard sell to some people.
I know.
What am I missing? What am I missing?
I don't know. I think it's the Muggle, wizard thing. I hate to boil it down to such simplistic terms, but you know what the other cool thing about this from a humanistic point of view is? Right. Even the people that come into Youngevity just for the business, right? Even the people that come into Youngevity just for the business, after a year that they've been in the business, and they see what's happening to people in their downline with their health, their jaws are on the floor, and they become converts to helping people. And, it becomes like a virus that spreads through the community. And now everybody's got it. It's the feel-good factor that is a part and parcel of being in touch with the truth. And
it's a crusade. It's a crusade that we're all part of. And I know exactly what you're saying, because the business is so viable now. There's so much money to be made if you do it correctly that it does attract people sometimes just for the business side of it. But once they see people getting out of wheelchairs and losing 150 pounds, it's hard not to get on board, right? It's hard not to get on board from that way. You got to be a real cold, not to get on board in that way. And so with Youngevity, you hit the nail on the head. You get financial wealth, you get healthy, and you get wealthy as well. And that is the way, Peter, it should be. Don't you think? When we take care of people's needs, we get our financial needs met as well. And that's the way it's supposed to be.
That is the way it's supposed to be, right? Because it's like, it's like that old saying, right? And it's an old saw now, and Kevin Costner took advantage of it, right? But build it and they will come. All that you need to do with Youngevity, the only thing that anybody needs to do to have a successful Youngevity business is tell the truth and point.
Yeah.
That's all they have to do. There's no upsell here. There's no obfuscation. There's no conflation. There's no nonsense. You just tell people the truth and point, and the rest takes care of itself, because the only thing that we do is support and promote the body's ability to fix itself. And when you get behind that juggernaut, there's no turning back, and everything in life changes for the better. And it's just a remarkable process to be a part of.
Peter, it's because the body's doing the work. It's because the divine force is doing the work. You're not doing the work. We don't do anything. The body's doing the work, and this is the distinction that I make between the so-called alternative model and the medical model. The medical model says we're going to fix you, that we're smarter than the body. We're going to override the body. We're going to stick things in it if we have to. We're going to chemically manipulate it if we have to. We're going to cut things out if we have to. But darn it, we're in charge here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's why I think a perfect metaphor for that is communism, right? Because that's what communist dictatorships do. Yeah, the state knows what's best for the people. Well, that's
better. Yeah,
that's how the MDs think.
That's right. The authoritarian trip. That's why I say, when I say hippies, I mean people who don't buy into the authoritarian trip. They want evidence. They want to see what's happening for themselves. And it is a democratic idea. And Dr. Wallace is all about that, actually. And it makes perfect sense. There is an egalitarian element to this where we can all participate on our own without an authority or a white coat or some doctor muttering in gibberish, some kind of disease state or protocol that we're supposed to do and we don't understand. This is about common sense. Your body cannot do its work if it doesn't have the nutrients, and your body doesn't have the nutrients. It's like Aristotelian logic. You know, if A equals B and B equals C, then A equals C. It's basically, if your body needs the stuff to do its work and you don't have the stuff, your body's not going to be able to do its work, and it's as simple as that. And
So
that,
what's
to me, is
so when given that situation, what's a better solution, to throw a drug at the problem, or
Exactly.
to just give
Right.
the body what it needs?
Well, that's another thing about drugs that nobody talks about, Peter. If you are taking prescription drugs, you are depleting precious resources to
That's right.
detoxify and eliminate that poison that should be spent healing your body. So you take a deficient state, you take a body that's already compromised, and now you put an added burden on the body in terms of prescription drugs. You further deplete the body of nutrients. Of course, then you get sicker, and then you're on more drugs, and you end up on this vicious downward spiral. And this is not even going to show up in the side effects. This isn't going to show up in the toxic side effects, Peter. This is going to just simply be nutritional deficiencies that end up causing death that are attributed to the disease state. Nobody's going to think that the prescription drugs, and I'm talking sometimes a dozen different prescription drugs, Peter. I'm not kidding you. Sometimes 20 different prescription drugs that people are on. You're going to tell me that's not going to cause a major depletion of B vitamins and magnesium and glutathione and glutamine and all the amino acids and enzymes that are responsible for detoxification? When we say drugs are poisons, Dr. Glidden, this is not rhetorical and poetic. This is literal. They are detoxified by the exquisite, intelligent, brilliant detoxification system in the liver, and that costs nutrients. So if you're on
Twin
prescription
sons of different mothers. You're hearing it right here live on Fire Your MD now, ladies and gentlemen. Very pumped up to have pharmacist Ben with us. Stick around. We're finishing up when we come back. I'm Dr. Peter Glidden, and this is Fire Your MD now. Birds of a feather flock together, ladies and gentlemen. Check out Pharmacist Ben's radio show right here on GCN, the Genesis Communication Network. That's GCNlive.com, GCNlive.com, The Bright Side, with pharmacist Ben Fuchs, Monday to Friday, 10 to 11 Central Time. So, Ben, we have 5 minutes left here.
I want to give you some kudos for 5 minutes, man. You are doing a hell of a job, Peter Glidden. You're doing an amazing job. It's an honor to know you, and it's an honor to be associated with you in this great cause and great mission of ours.
Well, I appreciate that very much, and I remember back in the day when, my parents were, God rest their souls, they've both passed on now, but one of the things that was great about the house that I grew up in was the motto of the family was, live and let live. And whatever you want to do, just go for it and do it, as long as you're not hurting somebody else or being a burden to other people, right? Just live and let live. So a lot of kudos go there to my family because, when I told them in the early 80s that I wanted to be a naturopathic doctor, I mean, I know that they probably thought, what the heck is that? And this kid's crazy, and oh my God, It's another one of the fads, right? But they let me do it. They didn't stand in my way. And I remember in the early 80s, when I was a freshman at naturopathic medical school, it was, naturopathy was like the red-headed stepchild that nobody really wanted to, take responsibility for. You talked about it in hushed tones and at dinner parties and at family gatherings. Always, is he a real doctor or what's up with that? But naturopathy and holistic medicine has become a lot more sexy. It's become a lot more, it's not mainstream yet, but it's much more accepted, generally speaking. But I remember, man, back in the day, not so much. I know, right? And from my point of view, given my 25-year now history with science-based, clinically verified naturopathic therapeutics, it's really, it feels, I have to tell you, be very honest, it feels very good to be with Youngevity Nation and, get at least a modicum of respect that members of my profession were wanting for decades and decades and decades. So I'm very happy to be here.
Well, being a naturopath is now accepted in standard hospitals. I noticed the cancer clinics have naturopaths, and you can write prescriptions too, can't you, Dr. Glidden?
Yeah, 17 states we have prescriptive rights for about 90% of legend drugs, yeah.
Now, what's your take on that? What's your take on naturopaths writing for medicine?
Well, the only good thing about that is, and this is a real slippery slope, and the naturopathic doctor, Dr. Bruce Milliman, who's out of Seattle, was one of my instructors, and, we're colleagues, and I call him up and we refer to each other, a couple times a year. So I know the rationale that moved that ball forward, and the rationale in part was, well, if you can't prescribe a drug legally, then neither can you recommend nor give advice to people to come off of the drug legally. So initially, part of the impetus for having prescriptive rights for naturopaths was so that we could legally and unfettered help people to get off of prescription drugs safely and appropriately. But
that's very cool.
It's backfired.
How so? How do you
well, in the last couple of years, and it's my intention, I don't know if these guys are going to come on board this radio show and talk to me about this, but there are a number of us in the naturopathic community who are of the belief that naturopathy is not being taught in the naturopathic medical schools anymore, and basically what the students are being trained to be is physician's assistants. Right?
Oh, no, that's terrible. Is it
it's this whole integrative medical, green allopathy thing, and it's just, it's depressing when I think about it.
The Leviathan always co-opts the good ideas. It always takes the good ideas. I love the 60s commercials for, Steppenwolf, Born to be Wild, for Depend.
I know. Isn't that one of life's greatest ironies? Pharmacist Ben, man, we have to do this more often, maybe once a month. I'm thinking once a month I should have you as a regular guest. Just not enough time. I appreciate you very much, brother. Thank you so much for your time. Here he goes, ladies and gentlemen, pharmacist Ben Fuchs. The Bright Side with Ben, Monday to Friday, 10 to 11 a.m. Let's give him a big round of applause. Thanks so much, buddy, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the future. Stick around, folks. Hour 2 coming up, and we're going right to the phones. Teresa in Kentucky is first. May 27th, Tuesday, 2014. Hour 2. Fire your MD. Now, pharmacist Ben is the only other person besides yours truly, the only other healthcare professional besides yours truly, whom I have ever heard say in public that one of the untalked about side effects of prescription medications is that they further deplete your nutritional resources, which is a big bad voodoo daddy. Because remember, the vast majority, if not all, of chronic diseases have their roots in nutritional deficiencies. And so therefore, when you take a pharmaceutical drug to manage your disease state, because remember, MDs don't cure things, they manage the situation. They don't cure things, they manage the situation. When you get on board with a drug to manage your illness, it further increases the root cause of the illness, which was nutrient deficiencies. Now, who is that good for? That's good for the pharmaceutical industry. Case in point, thyroxine or levothyroxine, Synthroid, right? Synthroid is a synthetic form of a thyroid hormone. It's called thyroid hormone 4, T4. The body loves T4. It also loves T3. It loves T3 4 times more than it loves T4. And T4 converts to T3 in the presence of selenium. So when your medical doctor prescribes Synthroid to you, he's giving you a synthetic form of T4. But your body prefers T3. So why wouldn't they give you T3? Well, because if they did that, you would need less of the drug. And why don't they put selenium in with the T4, in with the Synthroid? Because in order for the body to convert Synthroid, T4, into T3, it needs selenium. So by a simple addition of selenomethionine or some type of selenium into the levothyroxine, it would be much more effective, would work much more efficiently, and you would therefore need to use less of the drug, and you'd get a better response from it, and that's why they don't do it. Because remember, the pharmaceutical industry is not here to keep you healthy. the pharmaceutical industry is here to keep you sick. And if you don't believe that, you have your head in the sand. Let's go to Teresa in Kentucky and see what's shaking out there. Hey, Teresa, thanks for waiting. You are live.
Oh, thanks, Dr. Glidden. I'm calling. I've got questions about, maybe you can help me with my husband. He has heart disease with a defibrillator, CHF, diabetes, arthritis, bone-on-bone in his hands, stomach pains, and he's tried the BTT and OsteoFX for 2 days, had terrible stomach pain with it. And then he remembered that he had the same problem when he tried glucosamine in the past. So I just thought the expert.
Yeah, so you need help. He needs help. List me the illnesses just for the listening audience, please. Again, tell me. First of all, how old is he?
He is now 61.
All right, 61 years old in this case.
Yeah.
He has type 2 diabetes. He has arthritis. He has congestive heart failure. He has a pacemaker.
Defibrillator.
A defibrillator.
Yeah.
Great. What else does he have? Does he have stomach ulcers or celiac disease or irritable bowel?
He doesn't have any diagnosis of those, but plenty of digestive problems.
Yeah. And so while he's been giving his hard-earned money every month in the form of medical insurance premiums to the medical industry, his health has gotten worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He's on oxygen at night because his CPAP.
Now, all right. So,
no.
yeah, all right. He's on a CPAP machine, too? Okay.
No CPAP. No CPAP. Just oxygen.
Oxygen. All right. Okay. Well, so now how does he feel about all of this stuff? I'd really like to know what his perspective on all of this stuff is.
I think he's just...
Yeah, I lost your signal there. I'm sorry. We have a bad connection, Teresa. Bring that to me once more.
He is tired of feeling really bad.
Yeah.
He's tired of being run down and having energy one day and then not being able to do anything.
Yeah, and has he connected the dots? I mean, has he connected the dots that the MDs just aren't able to help him here? I mean, has he made that intellectual leap yet? Come on in, Teresa. Teresa, we have a really bad connection here.
Well, I'm sorry. I said, yes, I believe he has. He knows he's getting worse instead of better.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's his current...
We're throwing money at this.
Yeah, right. What's his current body weight?
Depends on fluid, 178 to 185.
Yeah, okay. All right. So now we talk about this all of the time, and if you really wanted to get kind of an in-depth inside scoop on this, and this time the pun is intended, you could go to my website, drglidden.com, click on the link to become an insider. As an insider on my website, it's $20 a month. You can cancel at any time, and you have immediate access to 100-plus hours of webinars that I've done on different health topics. And maximizing the absorption of supplements would be a very good webinar for him to watch. I've also done a webinar on heart health. I've done a webinar on joint health. But really, the fundamental thing here is that it's not the Beyond Tangy Tangerine that's causing the problem. If it were, everybody who took it would have the same problem. The problem is not the nutritional supplement. It's his digestive tract's ability to absorb the nutritional supplement, right? It's kind of like if you squeeze lemon juice into your left hand, it wouldn't cause any problem at all. But if you squeeze lemon juice into your right hand and there was a cut on that hand, it would sting like a son of a gun. So when we swallow nutritional supplements and they work their way through an intestinal tract that's been funkified and compromised and made unhealthy over the years, it creates all manner of problems. And actually, honestly, from a clinical point of view, anybody that has a negative reaction to the Beyond Tangy Tangerine is a diagnostic indicator that they have some type of inflammatory condition going on in their intestinal tract. It just hasn't gotten bad enough for the knuckle-headed MDs to diagnose it yet. So, given this reaction, right, the recommendation that this becomes mandatory for your husband. Given this reaction, he has to do this or the program won't work. And he has to do this or the program won't work. He must immediately eliminate all 10 bad foods. He has to do it. He has to stop eating wheat, barley, rye, and oats, and oil in a bottle, and fried food, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you can get that list for free on my website, okay?
Right, I've got that.
Okay, so, because, right, and this is why I think if you became an insider, even just for 1 month, and watched the webinar that I did on this, it would help you and him to understand the reason why he needs to stop eating these things. And you know, that's a lot better, right, when you understand why you're doing it, rather than just doing it because the doctor told you to do it. And in this case, a doctor that he's never even seen face to face. So, right? So, but in any event, from our point of view, it's the consistent consumption of these foods over time which have contributed to messing up his digestive tract. And so, no matter how good the supplement that he's taking is, he has to stop eating the food that's gumming up the works. Otherwise, it's going to be 3 steps forward with the supplements and 2.5 steps backward with the food, and he's not going to get anywhere, as has been evidenced by his current reaction. So here's what I would do as an experiment for, a couple days at a time. All right, we have to. Number one, he has to stop eating those foods. And once he's stopped eating those foods over the course of maybe 2 or 3 or 4 months, he should be able to, at that time, reintroduce the Beyond Tangy Tangerine and the Glucogel into his system, and they won't hurt him because, right, when the paper cut on the hand heals, you can put lemon juice on the hands, no problem. So when the guts heal themselves because you're not hurting them 5 times a day with the food that you eat, their tolerance for a super concentrated nutritional supplement goes up and up and up. But in the meantime, we have to give his body nutrition because he needs it. And we just have to mess around with a couple of different strategies to figure out a nutritional program that he can actually handle without it upsetting the apple cart while we're waiting for the digestive tract to fix itself. Does that make sense, right? Okay, so here's the recommendation. Here's what I would start with. So I would continue to give him the essential fatty acids, and at this body weight, I would give him 12 a day. I'd give him 4 EFA plus with breakfast, 4 EFA plus with lunch, and 4 EFA plus with dinner. I'd also give him 12 selenium a day in the same schedule, 4, 4, and 4. 4 capsules of selenium 3 times a day. Okay. I would give him 2 of the Ultimate Daily capsules 3 times a day, 6 a day. So 2 with breakfast, 2 with lunch, 2 with dinner. So that's 4 EFAs, 4 selenium, 2 Ultimate Dailies with breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Right? To that program, I would add, has he had any negative reaction to the liquid calcium? Are you aware of any negative reaction to the liquid calcium, Teresa?
Not that I know of, but we haven't tried the liquid calcium.
All right, great. So Beyond OsteoFX, have him do 1 ounce in the morning. He'll need 2 bottles a month. 1 ounce in the morning, 1 ounce in the evening of the Beyond OsteoFX. 1 ounce in the morning and 1 ounce in the evening immediately before bed. And last but not least, Mackey Plus. M like Mary, A, Q like Queen, UI, Mackey Plus. 1 ounce 3 times a day, but he should only need to do that for 4 weeks. 1 ounce 3 times a day for 4 weeks. That will go a long way towards helping his digestive tract get back on track. And then 2 months from now, you can add the Glucogel and the Beyond Tangy and see how his body responds to it. Welcome back, everybody. Dr. Peter Glidden here. The caller from Kentucky could also add root beer belly. 2 packets of root beer belly a day. 2 packets of root beer belly a day for a couple of months. that would also go a long way towards supporting and promoting the healthy structure and function of the digestive tract. And, we have to get the digestive tract straightened out first so that the body is able to handle the introduction of the nutritional supplements. And don't worry, while we're doing that, because everything's connected, we're going to be helping the bones, we're going to be helping the joints, we're going to be helping everything because everything's connected. And this is one of the beauties of the holistic method that the Pinhead MDs, and I'm choosing my words carefully, completely overlook. Virginia is up next. I guess we're on the East Coast for a little while. Let's talk to Carolyn and see what's going on with her. Hey, Carolyn, you are live.
Hello, Doctor. How are you?
I'm
glad
great.
to talk to you today.
Thanks.
I need help. I need help. I'm calling because I've been suffering with pain on my left side, on my left leg. The pain wakes me up at night. It's very difficult when I move certain ways. I had, years ago, I was diagnosed with spinal stenosis in my back, and before I could go and get a formalized diagnosis, the pain went away, so I didn't bother with it because I like doctors. I never had like doctors.
I like you very much already, Carolyn.
So I grew up taking my mother back and forth to the doctors, and I saw they never did anything for her, but she got worse. So I decided they really don't know what they're doing.
Not when it comes to chronic disease, you're right.
Yeah, I'm so glad that we found about longevity about a year ago, and I heard Dr. Wallach. We heard him give one of his famous speeches and talks, and I actually got a chance to talk with him at the end, and he put me on, because my left leg was swollen from cellulitis. I had that about 10 years ago. They dealt with the infection. They kept asking me, had I been bitten by a spider or been outside? I told them, no, I don't ever go outside. So they all they dealt with was the infection. They said it was infection underneath the top layer of my skin, but they didn't deal with how swollen my leg was. All they did was gave me prescribed some support hose, but I couldn't even fit the support hose over my leg.
Yeah.
So my leg has been deformed for some years now. The back of my leg bulges out, and just about a month, I started getting pain in the top part of my leg, deep down pain. I mean, the pain would wake me up by the hip joint and wake me up at night. And now I have my left arm, my hand is numb and got pins and needles sticking in it. It's still like it. And now the pain is starting to happen in my legs. So my whole left side is painful.
Okay, now, all right. So, have you been taking longevity stuff already?
I've been taking. I started that. Now when I first started, Dr. Wallach recommended the glucose gel tablets, daily, ultimate daily, and ultimate daily, and de-stress, because I was having some burning sensations up around my shoulder, and he said that was heart problem. So I've been taking, and I'm telling you, that fluid, that's enough. I'm full of fluid. I start feeling myself, I'm a big girl, and I start feeling myself filled with fluid back in the 80s. I kept saying, I feel like I'm full with fluid, but the doctors didn't think anything of it. So he said that that fluid would come right off. So it did. The fluid did come off. The pain stopped. Because of the spinal stenosis, I had pain in my back going down over my buttocks, down my back legs, and I could hardly walk straighten up. And so I was taking that for a while, but then I had financial problems dealing with my mother. I had to bring my mother in my home and start taking care of her, so I stopped taking care of myself. And now I took care of my mother for several years, and I had to end up putting her in the nursing home. So now I've gotten to the point where I just have to do something, because now I can hardly walk. The pain is so bad, it's hard for me to bend over. Now the pain is waking me up in the middle of the night. I have problems finding, ways to sleep.
Well, I'm sorry. All right. I'm so glad that you called. Coming up against the commercial break here in just a second. Before we do, Carolyn, what's your body weight?
It's 300 plus. I don't know exactly.
And how much can you afford to spend a month? How much can you afford to spend a month?
I'll tell you this much. I'm on Social Security check. My husband has a Social Security check. But we are members of longevity, and we're working the business. We just,
all right. All right. Well, look, we've all been there. I mean, I've been there. It's nothing to be embarrassed about. That's life,
yes.
Especially in this crazy economy. You stick with me. I'll tell you what to do. I'm so glad that you called. Welcome back, everybody. Dr. Clinton here, your steadfast naturopath, talking to Carolyn, Virginia, about a number of issues. Carolyn, are you still with me?
Yes, I am.
All right, so first things first, you have to stop eating the 10 bad foods, okay?
Yes.
And you know what those are, right?
Yes, Sure
okay.
do.
So here's what I would do. I would start salting your food so that it tastes good. Start using table salt with iodine in it so that your food tastes good, right? Don't be afraid of salt. You need salt to have a healthy digestive tract and to have healthy everything, quite frankly.
Doctor, speaking of that, that's something else I've been having problems with. It hurts when I swallow now. My esophagus, it burns, it hurts.
Yeah, that's because you don't have enough salt and you don't have enough calcium in your body. That's going to go away in a couple of weeks if you follow my advice. And if you continue to eat the food that's bad for you, that condition's going to get worse and you're not going to be happy. So you have to eliminate all 10 of the bad foods. Start salting your food so that it tastes good, number one. Number two, before you eat anything, 5, 10, 15 minutes before you eat a meal, I want you to squeeze a half of a lemon into about an ounce or two of warm water, lukewarm water. You can make it a little hotter than lukewarm and drink it down. A little bit of lemon juice into some warm water immediately before you eat anything. That will help your stomach to produce the appropriate amounts of stomach acid. It will help your digestive process to move along.
Okay.
For the first 3 months, I would like to see you take every day 3 ounces of Beyond Osteo. Well, you know what? The Cal Toddy would be better for you. 3 ounces of the Cal Toddy. That's C-A-L-T like Thomas, O-D-D-Y. 3 of the Cal Toddy. You're going to need 3 Cal Toddy a month.
Okay.
So that's 1 ounce in the morning, 1 ounce in the afternoon, and 1 ounce immediately before bed. I want you to take that between meals. I don't want you to take that with food. I want you to take that between meals, with the last dose being immediately before bed. And if you can tolerate it, if you don't mind the taste, and if your stomach's okay with it, each time you take that, mix it with a little bit of orange juice, or pineapple juice, or orange pineapple juice, or something like that. A little bit of orange juice, 1 ounce 3 times a day of the Cal Toddy. I'd like you to do right now 1 bottle of the EFA at the 180 count a month. 1 bottle of the EFA at the 180 count a month.
Okay.
And that's going to be 6 a day. 2 with breakfast, 2 with lunch, 2 with dinner. 2 with breakfast, 2 with lunch, 2 with dinner.
All right.
I'd like you to do 1 bottle of selenium a day.
Okay.
I want you to take 3 capsules between meals, and I don't care how you do that. You can do 3 all at once. You can do 1, 1, and 1, or 2 and 1, but I want you also to do that one between meals, and you can take that with the liquid calcium if you want.
Okay.
That's all I want you to do, because you're on a limited budget. In the meanwhile, and that's going to make you feel better. It's going to really help you to get better. It's going to go a long way towards helping your bones and your joints and your stomach acid, and the selenium is going to help everything. The essential fatty acids are going to help everything, including your heart. And this is a good program for someone on a limited budget to start with while you're building your longevity business. And listen, Carolyn.
Yes, sir.
There are lots of people in longevity who are multi-million-dollar earners with longevity. And they're poorer than church mice when they started. I mean, no kidding.
Wow.
No kidding.
Wow.
I mean, I am not exaggerating. They didn't have 2 pennies to rub together when they started longevity, but they did it So you want to find somebody in your upline.
Yes.
Somebody in your upline who is an active and strong business builder. You want to call them up, introduce yourself if they don't already know you, and say, look, I need to make money at this. I want you to show me how to do it.
Okay.
Lean on your upline for support. So
right.
call the company, find out who in your business, who in your network is a strong business builder, and, lean on them for support. And if you do it correctly, within a couple of months, you should be making between $500 and $1,000 a month. No kidding.
Wow.
And that's gonna beat a poke in the eye with a sharp stick. But look, there's a way to do this business effectively, and there's a way to do this business ineffectively.
Yes.
There's a way to show this to people that makes them run away from you, and there's a way to show this to people that attracts them to you.
Yes.
On my website, if you'd like to, it's a subscription. You could buy a subscription to my online service. It's called a Dr. Glidden Insider. It's $20 a month. And in addition to health information that you can use to help build your business, there's business information there, that business training, that you can watch the business training videos that my team have put together. And they'll walk you through step by step by step things that you can do to increase your effectiveness with a longevity business. It's only $20 a month. You can cancel at any time. And that information is found at drglidden.com. Click on the Insider button. God bless you and good luck, Carolyn. Call me back with a report. I'll look forward to it very much. Louisiana is up next. Celeste. Hey, Celeste, thanks for calling. You are live.
Hey, Dr. Glidden. I talked to you last week about the eggs that was making me tired and sad and all that, and I stopped them. I haven't had any since. I'm sad again, and I don't know why. I did, like you said, took my blood sugar, and it got like 97, and you said take it when I start feeling like the little funky feeling. So it went, one time it was 97, then it was 110. The highest it got was 110. And my legs are still, like, when I sit and then I stand, the stiffness. And I'm real tired of that.
So you were feeling funky and blue and unmotivated and sad. I told you, in addition to the nutritional stuff, to give eliminating eggs a try. And when you eliminated the eggs, what happened to your mood?
It was better. I wasn't sad. I didn't have the crying spirit and all of that. I even had a little energy.
How much better was it?
It was a whole lot better, like day and night better.
All right, so like 90% better?
Yes.
Okay.
And it just comes and goes now.
All right, so but before it was constant?
Yes, it was like depression.
Yeah, it's like a cloud following you around all day, right?
Yeah, yes.
All right, but now the cloud is only with you every once in a while?
Yeah, I only had 2 episodes today, and that was one a few minutes ago. But
okay, and how long do they last?
About maybe 15, 20 minutes.
Okay, and when you're feeling blue again, are you feeling as depressed as you were a couple weeks ago, or is it more or less?
No, it's less.
All right.
It's like a stressed feeling now, like I'm under a lot of stress.
Oh, well, there you go. All right, so you need Be Like Baby vitamins, B vitamins, Be Like Baby vitamins, B vitamins.
Okay. To
add to your program. Now, the longevity product that has that is called De-Stress. Like Detoxify, and I think it's a bad name. I don't, because people think it's a D vitamin, D like David, but whatever. But the longevity product that's high in vitamin B like baby is called De-Stress. So I'd get a bottle of the De-Stress. I take 6 a day.
I ordered selenium.
Well, you need selenium too. I mean, in the meantime, you can just go to the health food store and get a bottle of B complex vitamins. And then let me tell you how to do that, right?
Okay.
When you're shopping for stuff outside of longevity, and because for whatever reason, and there's maybe 10% of the time you'll need to do this, either because you have to have something today, you can't wait 5 days for it to ship to you, or it's just something that longevity doesn't have yet, and you need it.
Okay.
When you're shopping for stuff over the counter, you want to look to see a circular stamp on the label of whatever you're buying in nutritional supplement land. And the circular stamp will have the letters G like Godfrey, M like Mary, P like Peter, GMP. It'll be a little stamp about the size of a nickel right on the bottle. It says GMP. So if you're looking at 5 different types of B complex vitamins, right? 5 different companies, and one of them has a GMP stamp on the label, that's the one you want to buy.
Okay.
All right, so you want to find an over-the-counter GMP B complex, and regardless of what it tells you on the label, I want you to take 9 a day.
9 a day.
Yeah.
Okay, and the de-stress, how many would I do?
6 a day.
6. Okay.
Yep, okay. But that's what you need. I mean, life is a great big bowl of stress. I mean, it is, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's emotional, sometimes it's financial, sometimes it's weather, sometimes it's bugs and germs.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it's all of it, right?
Yeah.
Right. So when your body is under a lot of stress, regardless of the nature of the stress, especially if it's an emotional stress, you burn through your B vitamins rapidly. And when you're deficient in B vitamins, that's how you're going to feel. Now, it's interesting, right? Because ostensibly, the reason that this comes and goes for you now is because your body, you'll take the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, and there's B vitamins in it, but your body burns through them. And then there's a moment in time before your next dose when your body's out of B vitamins, but the stress is still there, and you're going to feel it. It's kind of like if you were walking around outside in wintertime, it's 5 degrees below zero, and you go for a 1 hour walk around the block. If every 20 minutes you took your hat off and your gloves off, well, your head and your hands would get really cold, right? Because the stress is still there, but the protection is not. And so when your body burns through the vitamins, you feel funky. So I would load up on B vitamins, and I'm pretty sure that's going to take care of it.
And how much of the selenium should I do when it comes?
Well, what's your current body weight?
320.
Okay, I would do 12 a day if you can afford it. If you can't do that, so that's 4 bottles a month. If you can't, and that's the maximum dose, no matter what your weight is, 12 a day. If you can't do that, do 9 a day. If you can't do that, do 6 a day. The minimum for you would be 3 a day, and that's the minimum for everybody, is 3 of the selenium a day. I would rather see you do 12, but you do whatever you can do and bump your longevity business up a notch or two in order to defray the financial cost. And I'm telling you, all that anybody has to do to be successful with longevity is tell the truth and point. Tell the truth and point. And we have step-by-step instructions available for subscribers to my website for Dr. Glidden Insiders to tell you exactly how to do this. It doesn't matter whose downline you're in. You can become a subscriber, become a Dr. Glidden Insider, take advantage of the business training, add it to whatever you're doing now, and increase your net worth. And holy smokes, that beats a poke in the eye with a sharp stick. Give it a try, Celeste, and give me a call back. I always like to hear from you. Thanks for being with me today, folks. Utah is up next with Lee. I'm Dr. Peter Glidden. Stick around. Hope you enjoyed the program today, ladies and gentlemen. The first hour with Ben Fuchs was fun for me. I hope you learned something. It's always important, I think, to hear the same message from another person because it just reinforces the fact that, what we're talking about is the real deal here. And it is. And let's go to Lee in Utah and see what's going on. Hey, Lee, thanks for the call. You are live.
Good afternoon. I had an interesting visit yesterday with a non-believing nephew who has had ringing in his ears, dark the same day on both ears, and the doctors have said that it's just what happens when you get older, and he's just 42 years old. He has a neighbor across the street that has macular degeneration, and he wanted to know what Dr. Wallach had given those 27 people to regenerate their eyesight, and I can't find anybody that has that list of products. And I have a client that just signed up who's on dialysis and is in the ER today, wanted to be online with you today to ask you what they should do.
Well, I appreciate the call, Lee, and I have an easy solution for all of this. I'll tell you what Wallach recommends to support and promote eye health. It's relatively easy. But for the other stuff, are you an insider? Are you a subscriber to my online stuff yet?
I am.
All right, great. So just go into the archives and find the webinar that I did on eye health. Find the webinar that I did for ringing in the ears, and find the webinar that I did on kidney health. And, I don't know if many of my insiders are aware of this, and I think we need to do a better job at explaining this. I've just transformed my website. We've gotten on board with a different server, and the whole look and the feel of the web are going to be much easier and more user-friendly shortly. But as a subscriber, you can go into the archives and you can find, the webinar that I did on eye health, and you can send the link to that webinar to anybody that you want to, and they don't have to pay for it. And because you're a subscriber, you can do that, and it doesn't, there's no extra charge for that. So you can send the webinars that I've done that you have access to as a subscriber to anybody in your world as an enrollment tool, because people always feel better, number one, when they hear it from the expert, right, not their next door neighbor, and number two, when they see it explained to them in a way that just makes sense. And I love people in the western part of this country. I love people in the western part of the country because they're real down to earth, and if you explain something to somebody in Utah and they understand it, they're going to do it. And it's not like that in New England. It's not. People in New England will fight you and question you and have their own ideas. And it's funny. It's a funny thing. And I grew up in New England. It's a curious phenomenon. So that's what I would do for the dialysis person and for the ringing in the ears person. I've done really good webinars on both of those subjects, and it lines everything up right there. Now, I'll tell you what Dr. Wallach recommends for macular degeneration in order to support and promote eye health. It's 1 anti-aging healthy start pack, 1 anti-aging healthy start pack, 2 selenium per 100 pounds of body weight per month. 1 anti-aging healthy start pack, 2 selenium per 100 pounds of body weight per month, and 1 bottle of Ultimate Daily capsules. Now, the only other thing to do there is to increase consumption of antioxidants, right? And you're going to get a lot of antioxidants with the Anti-Aging Healthy Start Pack, especially if you do the 2.0 version. But Triple Treat Chocolate has 17,000 ORAC antioxidant points in each piece of chocolate, and it's chocolate, right? The goal to support and promote eye health is 50 to 100,000 ORAC points of antioxidants a day. So you got to figure out how many you're going to get from the Anti-Aging Healthy Start Pack, and then make up the difference with whatever else you want inside or outside of Youngevity. Green tea, for instance, is loaded with antioxidants. Blueberries, right? Walnuts, cinnamon, curry. There's a lot of ways you can get antioxidants. And if you want to just make it easy, have 4 or 5 pieces of Triple Treat chocolate a day, in addition to the anti-aging pack and the selenium, and life is good. Remember, Lee, everybody stops the 10 bad foods. Thanks, folks. God willing and the creek don't rise. See you tonight in my live chat for Insiders Only.